Tonight, the new editor of Express magazine shares some intimate moments from his life. Hi everybody, welcome to GayTalk tonight. I'm Andrew Whiteside. My guest is the new American editor of New Zealand's Express magazine. Leif Wauters was born in the USA and has a strong history of involvement in the gay community in San Francisco. He's been the lead singer of a rock band, on the board of the Folsom Street Fair, and involved in various other events and organisations. He now lives in New Zealand and has taken the reins of the long-established gay magazine, Express. Leif, thank you so much for joining me. Great to have you here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you are the editor of Express newspaper, and you've just been doing that for a very short time.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, what's your experience been like so far?
It's been busy. It's been hectic at times. It's been enlightening. It's been fun. There's some colorful characters in this country, and it's been exciting writing about them and discovering the different little pockets of humanity in New Zealand. Some of them are a lot more flamboyant and loud than others, and trying to dig out the ones that are a bit more private and getting them to pop out their feelings. So it's been fun.
Now, you've been intimately involved in some of the big gay events and big gay scenes in America. What do you notice most about coming to New Zealand, other than the gay scene here, other than the fact that it's a lot smaller?
I think in New Zealand, many of the people here don't realize that they really enjoy a lot of civil freedoms that places like the US still don't quite have. So there's a lot of that progression here in the society that people need to really realize and revel in.
I wanted to take you back in time to look at some of the things that you've achieved, because I find your life story quite fascinating, actually. And so I wanted to look, first of all, at your coming out process, because I know it wasn't an easy thing for you. So you told your mother, mm-hmm. and then things kind of escalated from there. So just tell me a little bit about that process.
Coming out doesn't have to be a really painful experience, but unfortunately for my mother, she just wasn't really receptive to the fact that I was going to be gay. I was 13 years old, and I just come to the realization that I was finding men attractive. And it was still at that very virginal phase of, like, I haven't really engaged in sex yet, but there was still such a spring of attraction going on that I just knew it. I knew I was gay. And without knowing any better, I just went to her and said, by the way, Mom, I think I'm gay. Well, that was just quickly just stomped out, and there was not going to be any way that her son was going to be gay. Even though I was raised in community theater, my mother was an actress, and I was reading lines with her as a kid, and I was raised to watch public television, and I was basically schooled at home for part of my youth, and just, I had a very kind of buffered, quiet childhood with my mother, so if anyone was being groomed to be gay, it would have been me. But the fact was, she wasn't going to have it. She sent me to a therapist, and that was a very awful experience. Not because of the therapy, but just because of the dry and very analytical nature I was dealt with. I was a subject to a student psychotherapist. I wasn't really, being helped. I was being more studied. And, but after 6 months of that, I just decided I couldn't deal with it any longer. And I lied to my mother, and I lied to the therapist, and I said, oh, no, it was just a phase. You guys are right. I'm sorry to have bothered you. I'm straight. It's okay. We don't have to go through this anymore. And I had to keep up the lie pretty heavily for a couple of weeks until they were like, well, he says he's straight. He must be straight. And so that then started the rest of my teenage years lying to my mother about my homosexuality. I would sneak out at night and go and try to fulfill my urges as a young gay man who was exploring his sexuality. And then I would sneak back home and climb back in the bed and go to school the next day and somehow keep a B average. And I did that for the rest of my teenage years. So it was hard.
What was the long-term impact on you, do you think, for that?
Well, I think the long-term impact on my relationship with my mother was detrimental. I mean, we have never really seen eye to eye since. It just kind of sets the stage for distrust. No matter how good their intentions are at that point, you just really don't believe that they can embrace who you are. And it tarnishes a lot of that relationship and the ongoing dialogue that you can have. You don't feel like the openness can never be there again. It's interesting, although I can feel like there was negative impact from the experience. I mean, I've said it before and I will say it again until the day that I die, that I'm here in this seat now talking to you because of the actions that happened at that time. If it had happened any differently, if she had embraced me and loved me and everything like that, my path would have been entirely different. And I've had some amazing experiences and been made stronger by it. So I have to embrace it as part of who I am.
Now, community is important to you, and you were very involved in the community in San Francisco. One of the main events that happens there every year is Folsom Fair, and you've been involved in that. It's an incredible event. I've been to it once. From an organisational point of view, as well as a participant, how have you found it, and how did it add to your life?
There are a few places in the world where, gay or not, you can just express yourself. Burning Man is one of them. IML is another. Most pride festivals for our community are that one place where you can just kind of shine who you are. But Folsom is this granddaddy of leather events that's been going on for, going on 30 years. I was on the board for 2 years, helping to run it. But it's just one of these times where you can get together and you can see all the best of the eye candy in our community, and also just some of the freakiness and the silliness and the outrageousness of sexuality that can be out there. And it is about really expressing yourself and about seeing sexy and scandalous in public and not being afraid of that darker side of us. It allows the sunlight to shine on our carnal desires. And it pulls them out of the shadows and out of the bedrooms and out of the dungeons and actually displays them on the street. And there's lots of vending and there's lots of drinking, and it has all those other telltale signs of a big street event with bare-ass chaps and harnesses and human ponies and all these kind of just outrageous little aspects of our sexuality that deserve to be applauded and laughed at and celebrated.
Now, you moved to New Zealand for love, and your partner Morris, who I've met. And how has that experience been? Because I know it's not easy to relocate yourself to another country, particularly for a relationship. It's not.
Although I will say that New Zealand, although the process was a little bit painful at times, it could have been a lot harder. I mean, we could have been trying to get Morris into the U.S., which is, at this point, takes an act of Congress, which I hope happens someday. But no, it was an interesting process. Morris was deciding that he wanted to take a break from New Zealand and kind of get out into the greater world to kind of expand his horizons. And then he met me. And we looked at the opportunity for him to move to San Francisco, and unfortunately the immigration options into the States were just impossible and incredibly expensive. And we came to this point of ultimatum in our lives together where it was either I move here or we break up. I mean, we couldn't maintain a long distance relationship forever, but we loved each other too much to separate. So this was the lesser of two evils. This was the path of least resistance that allowed us to explore our lives together. And it's been great. I mean, I adore the man as much, if not more, than the day I met him. And he's just been an incredible supporter, and he's allowed me to support him. And I mean, we're growing old together, and that's what love is about. And he's supported me through not having a job here for a while when I first got here, and through a job that I did have in Hamilton that also came with an arduous commute. And then, you know, the experiment of working for Express and being up in Auckland a lot and being away from him. He's supported me through all of that, and it's really been great. Living in another country other than my homeland, I get to look back at the States and look back at the craziness that has gone on there, the insane politics, the rhetoric, the puritanical bludgeoning of our community. It's been shocking to look at it from the outside, and very eye-opening, because I just know that if I were still in the pond, the water would look much different.
What do you think it takes to have a happy, fulfilled, or successful kind of life?
In my relationships, I mean, I haven't been perfect, and there have been some dark moments that I will confess to. But I think overall, I think the important thing is that if you love someone, you have to lift them up. You have to support them, and you have to let them support you. And I think it goes the same way for the people in your lives and around you. I mean, there's always going to be people that they just simply aren't receptive to this kind of humanity, and they're going to try and tear you down, and they're going to try and chip away at you. But that, you just can't own that. You can't let that be who you are and what you're about. You have to be about making things a bit better for the world around you. And it can be on a one-to-one basis, you know, caring about the person across from you and talking to them and being supportive of the things that are going on in their lives. And sometimes that means also, you know, telling hard truths and kicking them in the butt. But all from kind of a lifting up sort of way, because this is a hard life that wants to push us down all the time, you know, and whether it's bills, whether it's depression, whether it's loss, whether it's anything that you carry around with you, it's always weighing on you. It's the Jacob Marley of our lives, with all the chains that are just dragging us down. And so I think as humans, it's our job to lift each other up. And that's, if you can maintain that perspective in the people that you care about in your lives, and that's the greater community included, then you're just going to make everything richer, you know, and you're going to leave some wonderful memories and take a few with you as well.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you for letting me talk to you.